You're welcome back. The coronavirus pandemic is like an earthquake with aftershocks that will permanently reshape the world. And if we are lucky, the world will pass the peak virus stage within the next 6 months. I mean, that's the best case scenario. Now, research has it that economies, governments, social institutions will take years to recover. And rather than speak of recovery, which implies a return to how things were, it would be wise and in our best interest at this point to start projecting how the new world and the new civilization is going to be like. In other words, the next 3 to 5 years will remind us that the COVID-19 was the lightning before the thunder. But then again, it's difficult to measure a straight line between cause and effect. So on today's edition of the Super Breakfast Show, we will be looking at the COVID-19 pandemic, post-COVID-19, and the new world. And to help us have this conversation this morning is Mr. OLADIPUPO Clement. He is an entrepreneur, a serial investor. He is also the CEO of LifePage Group. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes, so it wasn't difficult for you getting here this morning, right?
This is my first time of coming out since the lockdown.
Oh, wow.
Our businesses have been operating remotely. So it's not been a very light season for us. It's been a very busy season despite the lockdown, just that we're operating remotely. Yeah.
So there's no doubt that the reality will take, a different turn after the pandemic. What do you think or what do you predict these changes will be?
All right. I think the first thing we need to establish is that in times and seasons like these, the earth is compelled to reset itself. I say to people, I've been sharing for quite a while now with people who care to listen, that the future we talked about is finally here. And things are not going to change. Things have changed and never going to return to the way they were earlier. So it's time. This is the season that calls for, before we start to predict, the truth of the matter is, no matter your placement, right, regardless of your status, it's difficult to fully predict what is going to happen. What we know is what has happened before and how people responded. One thing that we are telling people to do right now is, this is the season to retreat. This is the season to reflect. This is the season to re-strategize. This is the season to retool oneself. This is the season to upskill and reskill. So what used to work, the skill that landed you jobs, there are several industries that were worst hit by this pandemic because, health crisis has now finally led to economic crisis. And it's a terrible thing that is even affecting most developed nations of the world. So what we see happening is that most of the things we do that required, offline services, all of that is migrating online. Most things are migrating. There's a lot of pressure on internet services right now. Data is now oxygen. Data is now life. Health is wealth, and so health sector is going to really be doing very well. It's still, in terms of economics, if I'm going to be directing people, where do you invest? And then again, real estate will still be very relevant, particularly residential development. I remember when we launched out into our business many years ago, one of the things, incidentally, I mentioned it to you earlier, that today actually marks 8 years we've been in full-time business. And I remember that before we launched out into the business, one of the things we wanted to know, especially before we go into real estate, was, should we go into commercial development? Should we go into industrial real estate, or should we go into residential? One of the things I foresaw at the time, which is still very, very relevant today, is that as technology continues to advance, emphasis on brick and mortar as a requirement to drive businesses, will diminish with time. And then people will now be able to run their businesses 24 hours, 365 days, 24/7, 365 days a year online. And then logistics services would work very well because most people will now, more or less, rather than having physical stores will now begin to have warehouses. And so logistic haulage services will thrive post-COVID-19. So anyone who is beginning to think of where should I, and then unfortunately there are a number of people who will not be able to play in all of these sectors because they don't have, experience, they don't have the core competencies required. One of the things I'm sharing with people to do, this season calls for collaboration. This is the season, we are now in a sharing economy. This is no season where you'll be an island. This is no season where you'll be a lone ranger. This is a season where even if you play in any other sector, it's time to begin to think of collaborating with other people. So technology certainly is going to be the next major.
Do you foresee these changes becoming permanent?
Okay, so one thing that is fundamental that we need to bear in mind, I remembered Peter Drucker, would I say blessed memory now? Peter Drucker, who is now late, said that the 21st century would be characterized by 3 C's. He said, number 1 is the accelerated change, 2, overwhelming complexities, and tremendous competition. And so one thing that is constant in life is change. So what we are seeing now is just the tip of the iceberg. Those changes will be happening more rapidly than we've ever experienced. So what we are seeing now is just the tip of the iceberg. It's not, I wouldn't say it's permanent because it's still evolving. We have not even seen anything yet. There are a lot more that will be coming up. Yeah.
You know that in every situation in life, whatever it is that's happening, whether good or bad, there will always be those who benefit from it.
Absolutely.
Take, for instance, when there is war.
Yeah.
You have those who benefit. Now, let's narrow it down to those who sell the arms and the ammunitions. So, given COVID-19 right now, are there some sectors you think that can benefit from this?
Absolutely. There are. I mean, I already mentioned them. Technology certainly is benefiting. I say to people, data is oxygen. Data is now life. So while the lockdown was on, the only way we could connect with the rest of the world was through data, was through internet. And anyone who was not online was completely cut off from the rest of the world. So if you are in business, in the data space, in the internet space, technology space, those are the people who are benefiting. If you are also, and then the interesting thing is that there are services industry consulting firms, training centers are leveraging those same platforms, technology platforms, digital platforms. They are leveraging that. If you are into even education, whether executive education, even my children were receiving lectures on Zoom. I mean, it was Zoom and Google Class or something. That's what they were using to So things are changing so rapidly. So health, FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods, those are the sectors that are going to benefit because whether you like it or not, agriculture, I mean, people must eat regardless of what is going on, all right? So I mentioned logistics and then haulage services. That's still going to be thriving. And of course, residential development. People are locked down from their offices, but they have to stay back at home, right?
Yeah, but they've always had their homes too.
Yeah, that's the point. I mean, they've also always had their places of work. But now the situations around town had compelled, or rather compelled people to stay back home, not in their offices. So people have to stay back home. That's the point I'm trying to make.
So like the new era now, I mean, it's going to change everything.
Things are never going to, the way we do relationships, you know, I don't know if you saw the video that went online of a couple that got married and they did their marriage online, live streaming.
Yes.
And everybody who needed to have showed up for the wedding monitored it live online. So the way we do relations, the way we even do worship, the way we do faith, the way we relate, the way we do our work, the future of work is finally here. So
let's there's a package we went to the street and we asked people how the lockdown, the 1 month lockdown was for them. I mean, we were just talking about how businesses were affected. So some Nigerians also shared their views on how they were affected, their business and everything. Let's have the package play, please.
I think what the president did to me right now was really meant to help the people. That's to sustain what is really happening now. As at that. But talking about staying at home, I don't think that's really the best thing to do for now. Because regardless of you staying at home, there are still people who still goes outside to get one thing or the other. And that does not necessarily mean everybody is really staying home. But with the help of you saying, let the churches and the mosques, which we all know to be a huge gathering at that, not open for now. I think that's really cool concerning that.
The 1 month lockdown, it affected me in so many ways. First, those of my clients that are owing me money, they were unable to pay. And likewise, me too. Some of people I'm owing money to pay because I cannot get money from my clients. I was unable to pay them too. So on that basis, business-wise, if we look at the lockdown, because nobody prepared for it in the first place, and then number two, there was no adequate arrangement from both the government side and the people. Because if you look at the palliative measures put in place by the government, it is nothing to write home about. I don't think that is necessary because some people still believe that going, physically present at a worship center is more beneficial than being at home and then watching a live coverage or watching online. For me, I don't think that measure should be withheld. I think it should be something that should be lifted up.
I know. I'm a transporter. Now I can't move. It affects me because there's no food. I can't feed my children. I can't feed my people. So it's affecting me. If they take care of me, yes, nobody's. If you tell me to stay from now to December, I'm okay. If you take care of me, at least, government support. They are trying. Nobody said they are not trying, but at least let them make sure that everybody have something to eat. They are capable to do that. Everybody know. But they are not because of the people. Maybe some government are trying to give some people to go and do this, but they will not. You not reach poor people like us. I know that.
Photography and videography. So I couldn't open my shop. I couldn't do anything due to suspending of parties and everything. So I couldn't go to shop. So it affects me a lot. It affects because I'm doing the same work with my husband. So to feed family now is a problem for me. So it affects us a lot. I'm not feeling happy also because it affects me. So far there's no party. So there's no way I can do it. It affects me. It's still affecting me now because there's no party. Without party, I can't eat.
I'm a radiographer. I work with a diagnosis center, a medical diagnosis center. Well, actually, the lockdown has not been easy. It's been a difficult time in terms of transportation, and mobility was a little bit stressful. But then it's quite needful for the social distance to be well adopted to ensure that people are kept safe from this pandemic. And I believe in the course of this week, things will get better for people to resume their normal activity. But everything that has a good side, of course, has a bad side. And that's why I came up with my shortcoming. Yeah.
You're welcome back once again. These are Nigerians. They're reacting to the new measures put in place by President Muhammadu Buhari. So the phone lines are open right now for you to share your own views. Whatever it is that you're going through, the lockdown has affected you in whatever way, whatever business you do, because it affected everybody. So the phone lines are open, and we are talking about post-COVID-19 and the new world. Everything is going to change. So let's know how you have evolved in the past 1 month of the lockdown. Let's know how you decided to do your own business. Share your thoughts, share your views. The phone lines are open. So back to the questions now. Yeah. People are saying, President Muhammadu Buhari, first of all, said offices can open, marketplaces can open, but religious gatherings
Yeah.
should still be on lockdown. What's the rationale behind this? Because the same people who go to the office are the same people who go to other places. So why do we now have to shut these places down? Because they can actually be regulated, but you can't regulate the marketplace.
Well, you see, when it comes to decisions by leadership, it's a very tough one, especially in times and seasons like this. So why I personally think that if the churches were allowed, because the churches, the mosques, religious institutions are actually in the best position to actually educate the populace. And that's my personal opinion. I stand to be corrected, but my personal opinion is that would have been the best channel to influence people and enlighten people properly about how to respond to this season. The church in particular has done a lot. I'm not saying that because I'm a Christian. Now, if we want to say, okay, businesses should open, then churches too should open. There should be some degree of restrictions, though, like the number of people that should, stay in that should gather together, and then social distancing is very, very key and very essential wherever people gather.
Yes, because even before the whole lockdown started, the moment the whole coronavirus thing started, in my own church, there's so many restrictions. People were now sitting apart ahead. There was no longer the handshake and all that. But then again, they are now saying churches should still stay on lockdown. And then other people, not only churches now, the mosque, and these people are observing the Ramadan at this time. They need to go to their places of prayers, worship. So like Nigerians are saying that, even the interstate transportation,
it's on lockdown.
That one is also on lockdown. So even someone said, how do you now expect people, because a lot of people must have gone to different places now, they need to come back. Now you're saying offices should be open. What do you think is the way forward?
All right, so perhaps businesses are perceived to impact the economy more than the church. That's probably the reason for that. I'm not in policy making, I'm not into policy making, and I can't explain why, but it's evident that the population in Nigeria, 50% of this population is made up of informal sectors. And these are people who live on, daily wages, daily earnings. And those were the people that were worst hit by this lockdown. Why? Majority of people don't save. Majority of people don't have, no savings culture, no multiple streams of income. A lot of people in that category. And so, as we heard during when we watched the expressions and the displeasure that people, some of the things that people went through during the lockdown. So part of the things I've seen is that the businesses are to come back so that people can begin to do one or two things. But the implication of this now is the fact that I'm looking at it more from the economic implication right now. If there is no production, there's no economy. So I think the move by the government right now is to see how can we resuscitate, how can we get people back, how can we get life back to other while people are taking necessary precautions. Because even while the lockdown was on, there were still movements. When there are catastrophes.
Okay, we have a call. We have Brian calling from Ikorodu. Brian, make your contributions.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you. Speak.
All right. I'm just trying to contribute to the topic here. Yeah, I think the lockdown has gone well so far, because if you look at what's going on now, offices are asked to resume, many have traveled, and they can't get back. And now I don't see any reason why they should put the timing on our going out and coming. That is going to even worsen the situation. Because if you have to go out in the morning, 6 o'clock, it means everybody has to come outside to get to work. Unlike the way it was before, where people can go out 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, the crowd will not be there that much. So I don't see any reason why they're doing to timing on this. It's even worsening the thing. Then in terms of religious places, I think it's best for now to keep those places on lockdown. Because there's too much crowd in those places. You can't just, there's virus everywhere. There's coronavirus out there. So you can't just say because you want to worship, then you go and endanger yourself. So that's my point there. I think the government, right, keeping those crowded places on a lockdown for now. Then in terms of marketplace is also, market is an essential place. So even though it can be controlled, still better to keep it open so that you can get what to eat and essential things.
All right. Thank you very much, Brian, for your contribution. So he is of the opinion that the churches and the mosques being locked down is a good idea. And then again, you know, when this whole thing started, people can never be prepared for whatever is coming. Nobody was prepared for this. But people have adapted to the new situation on ground. Just like, for instance, if you go outside now, there's been a lockdown, but if you still go outside, you see people moving around. And then the cases of the corona keep increasing every day. How come about this? Because even when people were on lockdown, it was increasing. And now you're opening offices on Monday. What do you think is going to happen?
Interestingly, when we got the news that there will be a gradual easing of the lockdown from the 4th of May, one of the things we did in our own organization, for example, we are still going to be operating remotely for now, while we observe, because the health of our people is very important to us. A good chunk of Nigerians are not necessarily mobile, so they have to.
Okay, we have, sorry to cut you, Success from Surulere. Success, good morning. Hello. Speak up, we can't hear you, Sussex.
Yeah, talking about the post-COVID-19 era, what has happened has brought a lot of deficiencies in the governance system. It has exposed our health sectors that we are not well prepared should there be emergencies. If this kind of thing we are only affecting the poor people, let me use that word, probably the government will not be proactive. If they had the opportunity to travel abroad to the UK, to the US, to advanced nations with sophisticated medical equipment, they would have traveled and abandoned the poor people. So it caught everybody unaware. And this is going to be an eye-opener to whoever is going to either the present administration or future administration to ensure that the healthcare sector is well equipped to take care of emergencies. Then the palliatives that the government are giving, I only hear about it on radios and television. Within my neighborhood here, I have not been able to see anything. No, I am not among the poorest or the poorest, but there are still people within the community where I reside that are still very poor, who have not benefited from the health sector, from the government palliative rather. Also, we want to look about the educational system. With what is happening today, our internet facilities is not still the best. Electricity is not still the best. So the government has to look at it. The post-COVID-19 era is going to bring about the reshaping and the overhauling of the entire economic system. Everything in the country needs to be changed, needs to be overhauled. The way we do things, the way we operate, everything. Now let me also still tell you this, that there's going to be a job cut. People are still going to lose their job even after companies reopen. Because I'll give you an example. If a company that has about 50 workers can operate skeletally with 10 people, the question is, why keep 50 people? If they are going to the online services, people can work from home. Why maintain 50 staff? The best thing is at least let 50% of the workforce go so that I can be able to maximize my profit. So my advice to the government is that the government should try to put everything in place. The lockdown, to the best of my knowledge, has not been the best situation because certain people that derive their daily need from activities, the vulcanizers, the mechanics, the artisans, the hawkers, and all that, they have been denied. These people have not been captured by the government palliative. So how do we compensate them? If the government makes loans available through the banking system, what are the collateral? So we need to look at all this so that we can move on as a nation and as a society. God bless Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sussex. That was a very good contribution. We've been talking about post-COVID, and then he's saying a lot of people are going to lose their jobs.
Absolutely.
Yes, I mean, it has started, actually.
It has.
Because when you look at it, if I had 20 staff and I can actually operate with five effectively.
Remotely,
so why can't
what are the others doing?
I mean, so you were talking about the measures you've put in place.
Okay, so what we've done in our own organization, because you see, the truth of the matter is we cannot continue. The reason why I'm a bit passive when it comes to answering questions that border on what government should do is because I've decided to take responsibility for my own space, right? And that's the more reason why I'm a bit passive about those questions. What you can control, I mean, nobody determines what life throws at them. And even the most developed nations that have best of healthcare system were worst hit in this season. So you can't totally blame this government, even though there's a law, just like he said, he has some fantastic points. But the point I'm trying to make is even governments that were best prepared, were worst hit by this pandemic. So what we are doing in our own organization basically is to say, sorry, what are the essential services within the organization, or what are the essential team players within the organization that we really can't do without, which is still one of the things I am recommending to people, that your prosperity in COVID and post-COVID lies in becoming what people can't do without. This is fundamental. That's where it lies. So that's why if you have a certain set of skills that require, that is only when you work that money comes in, then you will be affected post-COVID. And if you
we have Franklin from Oshodi. Franklin, good morning. Hello.
Okay. Yeah, actually, to my own point of view, the lockdown is supposed to remain lockdown. But the reason is that, like we all know, the government are not doing the right thing. They only do the right thing on one aspect. And the other aspect, they're jumping it. What I mean they're jumping is that if they take care of everybody, though it might not be possible for everybody, but like 70%, people will stay back home. Because whatever they're doing is for everybody to save life. But the main thing that will make people understand they're doing the right thing, they are not doing it. And that is wrong. And also in this system that we have now, the telecommunications, they are supposed to look, So in the telecommunications system, they are supposed to look into this moment, because without internet, nobody can do anything. So there's supposed to be a payback or tariff off. But whatever you're doing on telecommunications, they're getting their money instant. So all these things people are not making money at this moment that we have. And all these things is giving pressure on Nigerians that, I need to go out and work. I need to go out and make money. I have family to feed. So all these things, government needs to look into it one after the other. So with that, people can understand and stay back home. But without doing that, and once people start going to work for places on Monday, trust me, this thing will rise back even more than what we have on ground. And I just hope that they are listening to what I'm saying or everything that is going on here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Franklin.
I totally agree that things are going to get a bit worse as people step out there. I think the move by the government, you see, we need to face some realities here. In terms of intelligence gathering data, we don't have that in Nigeria, where all the informal sector people in that category are documented. We don't have that. So to even reach out to those people like you have in other developed nations, it's easy to, channel palliatives. I mean, I've had all kinds of recommendations from, different platforms saying government should distribute funds to people since we have like 39 million BVN and all of those things. But that's still not a permanent solution. The truth of the matter is we cannot adopt what is working in England or what is working in America, adopt it here in Nigeria. We have to localize or customize our own solutions. And the recommendations are there. It's just unfortunate that the population, the large population that we have, a good chunk of us are not totally educated. The interpretation we give to every instruction is different. And so our actions too will be different, and which was why in the management of our own organization, we decided that we are not going to step out at this time. Let us observe. Since there's going to be ease of the lockdown, it means that construction can go on, right? So the key members of the construction team in our organization can get to site, and then they must take necessary precautions. We must provide movement, we must provide means of transportation for these people and ensure that they are all safe and well, all right? So I think much of the things we can do it still depends on individuals. We really can't count on government to undo everything. That's the reality. That's the reality.
So in other words, like as individuals, if you have to go out there, just know that everything depends on you.
Depends on you.
The government has said, even what's his boss Mustafa, the secretary to the federal government, he said from Monday, anybody seen outside without the mask will be prosecuted. Yes. So now, in other words, it means that they have said these things, but you have to adhere to them. And Nigerians, a lot of us find it difficult to adhere to instructions.
Absolutely.
For instance, if people are going to go to work on Monday, it means there's going to be vehicular movement. Buses and, okay, they've instructed that if you're driving a taxi, not more than 3 people, that's including the driver. But will these people adhere to these instructions?
There are different sides to that instruction too. So if the driver decides to adhere to that instruction, the implication is that the transport fare will skyrocket. So that will also impact on the price of goods and services. So there's a ripple effect to every decision. There are consequences for every action that we take. And the truth of the matter is, you are better at taking a step than doing nothing. So let's watch what happens, and then let's see what let's see what we can do, and let's see what government will do in the process.
So in other words, we all have to really take precautions, because the government cannot do it all for us.
No.
And I really thank a lot of Nigerians, because during this lockdown, a lot of people stepped up and helped one another.
A lot that we had to even do on a personal level, on a corporate level, with all kinds. I mean, but that still would not solve problems. Why? Because you see, what was missing before COVID, right? Someone says success is preparation, when preparation meets opportunity, right? This season some people were cashing out this season, right? Because they were better prepared than those who weren't, all right? So, and that's still a major thing, because I say to people, if crisis, one of the things that crisis does is to troubleshoot, tradition, to troubleshoot. This is the season, the future belongs to innovators. This is the season when we need to start to innovate. Listen, I don't want to think about what governments will do. I'm speaking as an entrepreneur. I'm speaking as someone who coach people on how they can live their lives, especially in this season and even post this season. So my recommendation, and what I recommend with people to people right now, is to make a lot of adjustments. If crisis don't change you, what else will?
Oh, wow. It's been really fun talking to you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure a lot of Nigerians have also, people have started, evolving. There's this book I read. It said, if you don't learn, or if you don't evolve, if you don't change with the changing times, you will become an expert in an industry that does not exist. And a lot of people I see are still waiting for, oh, they should release the lockdown, they should release the lockdown. What are they releasing the lockdown to? What are you going to do when it is released?
You know the interesting thing? This lockdown has been the best season for me personally. Now, I'm sure that I may come out across as someone who is hypocritical in that statement. The truth of the matter is I've also related with a couple of people and who have told me what they had done, all right, before this season and what this season has done for them, right? So I think what we need to learn to do is first is to adapt to change. I mean, if you don't change, you can become a victim of change yourself. And the thing that is constant, and that's pretty much some of the things we try to communicate. But the truth of the matter is, the more I think about the season, the more the company, everything we do has evolved completely. And we, in fact, most of our management meetings, most of our staff training, everything was done online to prepare people for post-COVID, right? So we've had to engage, consultants to even train online. Everything, we've had to go for all kinds of courses online. So this season has been a season of capacity enlargement. I think that's what we should. It's just unfortunate that we focus too much on what we can see. The things that control what can be seen are intangible, are not seen that can be seen, right? So, but unfortunately, people don't pay much premium to those things. You don't see that as much of a value. We, even as an organization, we've also rendered a lot of training and all of those things for people within this season, but all of it was done absolutely online.
Yes.
So it's time to evolve. It's time to innovate. If you don't, you become a victim. That's the plain truth. I mean, you remember when the days when photography was you watch the film, you get the negative and on it, and all of those things. Those were the people that were reigning. And then when a phone that could do the same job came in, a whole company, a whole industry was wiped out. So if you don't evolve, if you don't adapt to changes, and that's what this season is presenting to us. Even the way we do governance, the way government, for example, we're into real estate, so we want to verify documents of properties that we want to acquire. And then, but because there was lockdown, we couldn't carry that out. If there was an online portal, an online channel where we could lodge such documents, things can still go on while, I mean, if we embrace change. Otherwise,
even if they decide to keep the lockdown,
for
a longer period of time,
many things can be going on. Again, on a personal level, and then for the individual, because see, there's very little that we can share. The situations in Nigeria is quite complex until you are in government yourself, or you have people in government. You never can tell how complicated the issues are. Right, and so while you are resolving one, you see that it's a multi-pronged problem you are actually dealing with. But on a personal level, and for individuals listening to us, one of the things that this season has done is that it has put all of us back on the same lane.
Yes.
And I told some people, I said, see, you know what is going on right now? What is happening right now is life is saying to us, on your mark, get ready, get ready. So the last 4 or 5 weeks or so, for a lot of us has been get ready. You know what people are doing? I'm bored. What can I be doing now?
Yes.
And all of those things.
On social media, people are doing all kinds of things.
So the point for me is, what are you, convert the time. Time is a convertible resource. What are you converting that time to do? Read a book, for example. Somebody says, person will never chop in a book they read. You get to hear all kinds of philosophies. The truth of the matter is, this is going to force change. And again, let me also establish this. In times of crisis, there's what we call wealth cycle, right? Times of crisis like this calls for redistribution of wealth and resources. So there will be an emergency. And then some people may say, we are talking health crisis, we are talking pandemic, somebody is talking distribution of wealth. That's the reality. John D. Rockefeller says when blood is rushing in the field, that's the best time to invest. That's the best time to buy things. That's the best time to take advantage of opportunity. And a lot of people are doing that. But if you don't have that type of mindset, you are not likely to maximize the season.
Wow, thank you so much. I'm sure a lot of people have learned 1 or 2 things from this conversation this morning of post-COVID. How prepared are you I mean, this lockdown, the whole period we are going through now, is preparing you for what is going to come ahead of time. So you have to maximize your time now. Make use of the time you have on lockdown now to change your own self, change your life. Because if you don't, you're going to, the change will come, definitely. But are you going to be a part of the change that will change other people? Or you're going to be part of those people who are going to still be at the back seat? So evolve now, change yourself, change your lifestyle, change the way you do things, because the world has changed automatically. So thank you, Mr. OLADIPUPO Clement, for coming on the show.
Let people take necessary precautions.
Yes.
While you step out right now, this is also the time. What you are supposed to be doing is to wash your hands regularly.
Yes.
You are supposed to make your environment clean. And those are the things that people should do in this season and take control over their space.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And that's the much we can take for today. Until we come your way again next week. It's bye for now, and I am Kiruka Ibe. Thank you for watching, and thank you for listening. And those of you who called, thank you so much. And let's do this again next week. Thank you.